Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review, and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today we have a spoiler-filled discussion of chapter 54 of volume 1 of The Wandering Inn. We have very few chapters left to go. Next week's chapter is 20k words, will be the biggest chapter so far. So big plays happening in the Wandering Inn world. This is an Erin POV, and it starts the same way a lot of them do, with some chess. So she finds that Torren and Rags are playing chess, and that Rags is being quite merciless with Torren. Got to stay hydrated. And she decides she's going to teach Torren as well. This is interesting because we know from the previous chapter that Torren specifically was really wanting to learn to play chess to gain more levels that were more combat related, because he's meant to be a skeleton warrior and he is not currently doing any warrioring. Maybe that will change soon. But so Rags has been trouncing Torren in chess, and Erin's like, no, that's not fair. You can't. He doesn't know how to play. So she starts teaching him how to play, and he learns some of the basics, but his skill in chess, skill with a lowercase s, does not rapidly improve. He doesn't have the gift for it in the same way that the Antinium or that Rags do. And that's a bit disappointing to Erin. But I think that one of the things that we're seeing with Torren is that he's basically rubbish at everything. And he's starting at 0, whereas other people have, a bit more to them. So they aren't starting at 0. So there's, they play chess, fairly decently second portion of the chapter. I know we like chess here in Wandering Inn fandom, but there's 25% of the chapter just about chess. And there's not much for me to recap because it's just about chess. Then when we get to Cheria and Jerial, who I think I've been calling Jerry, and I'm going to continue to do so, are in Lisgore, and they are kind of exploring and looking to see, what's going on in the city. And they have a bit of a chat about Erin and how she's a little bit different. And then they bring up Ryoka is also a little bit different. So if we've got these two people we know, and they're both a little bit different, and they're both human, nobody, no matter how obvious it is, has connected the dots yet. But I do not imagine it's going to be long before the dots are connected between Erin and Ryoka, especially by the people who know that Erin and Ryoka are from another world. So definitely, it feels like the two protagonists are going to meet by the end of this volume. Hard to be 100% sure because Pirate Arbor did do that fake out for us before, but it does feel like it's going to happen. And then, we find out that Jerry is attracted to Ryoka, and also so is Calruz. They talk a little bit about the ruin and what might be down there. I think we all know it's the necromancer that's down there. They talk about whether Pisces should go down with them into the ruin, and Cheria's like, well, you can't trust him. I wouldn't have him at my back, even though he's a really strong, powerful mage. So more hints and clues that something went down between Cheria and Pisces at Wistrom. Also, he was expelled for his experiments, whereas Cheeria ran out of money, which is why she never fully graduated. Or maybe they both graduated. It wasn't 100% clear. That'll probably be in a future chapter, so you need to tell me about that in the comments. Let's keep going. Cheeria has learned the illumination spell, which should give them a kind of base camp of a light area in the ruins. Although she says it's too exhausting to use it more than once in a row, so she'll need mana potions. They talk about what they would buy with their winnings, or whatever you call them, the loot from the ruins. And Cheeria's like, I'm going to buy a spell book. And Jerry's like, you're just going to buy a spell book? She's like, yeah, they cost thousands of gold pieces. I've been saving like my entire career to buy another spell book. So that's mad and quite fun. Where else have we got? Jerry says he's going to buy magic armor. He's going to buy a sword. He might buy a magic ring. And it's quite funny because neither of them really understand what the other sees in the thing they want to buy. Then they meet Sostrom, the other mage, kind of the newer mage of the crew. And they sit down and have some kebabs. But then Ghazi turns up. Also they mentioned that they've not seen Kalruz since last night. Kalruz. But then Ghazi turns up, and she puts the whammy on Sostrom and Jerry and gets them to tell everything basically that they know about Ryoka. And Cheeria notices and is able to protect herself, but she's like, You're like thingying me, like you're hypnotizing me. This sucks. Don't do that, you know. And even though they tell her basically everything that she wants to know about Ryoka, including roughly where to find her, Cheeria is like, you need to stop. You need to go away. And then Ghazi puts her sword to Cheeria's throat and is about to be like, no, you need to tell me more, when the princess, who we've seen in the background in Liscor, uses a magic ring to cast a spiderweb spell over all of them. So yeah, it's definitely something interesting going on. In fact, this is where the discussion of how strong Pisces is. Oh wait, no. I just hadn't scrolled down. So yeah, there's definitely. I really want to find out more about the princess. I feel like her story has been really, really vaguely hinted at in extremely small increments, and I just kind of want to know what's going on now. Cheeria then explains to the Jerry and Sostrom that they were under spells and like how it works. And then she also starts to explain about who Ghazi is and who the king she serves is. The mad, whatever the king is, who I assume is the king from the King interlude, because, you know. And then Ghazi goes straight to see Erin and is like, hey, I'm going to go out of town for a while. Obviously, she's going to Chelm to try and track down Ryoka. Although Ryoka is in Liscor, I think. Yeah, she's in Liscor because she was hanging out with Rags, kind of. So Ghazi's gone to Chelm to try and track down Ryoka. And she's like, hey, I want to come back here for another meal. Are you going anywhere? So, like, obviously Ghazi knows something is going on with Erin, and she's like, basically, don't leave town, is trying to convince her, or like trying to find out whether she's planning on going anywhere, which is shady as all hell. So we know that, like, in the King interlude, 2 people turn up from our world through a portal, which gets him to stand up from his throne, which apparently is something he hasn't done. And so maybe Ghazi is looking for people from our world to get him to stand up from his throne, but doesn't know, because it's like across the desert, that it's already happened. That would be interesting. Kalruz then turns up, and he's like giving it the big I am, and then he's like, oh, Erin, like, you need to learn how to fight, basically. He shows her his combat skill, which is that he can do a hammer blow, and he can like smash rocks and things like that. So he's like, that's my combat skill. You should learn some combat skills so that you can defend yourself. And she's like, yeah, okay, I guess. And she sees how strong Kalruz is and is like very impressed. And then Kalruz is like, you get a bit of Kalruz POV, and he's like, oh, Erin's so weak, oh, there's nothing, she can't defend herself, and she needs my help, and I'm going to train her, and it'll be good practice for training Ryoka. And then he talks a bit about Ryoka's boobs. And that's the end of the chapter. Here we go. She had proper breasts, not like the small mammaried females he kept running across. So that made me chuckle. Overall, a good chapter, and some really interesting stuff going on with Ghazi here. I think I was always a little bit suspicious of her, but definitely now it seems like she is explicitly trying to track down humans who are weird and possibly from another world. So should we be scared for Erin? Don't know. I think we'll have to come back to that one. But yeah, not so much to talk about this week. I say this week, I've done 2 episodes this week. I believe we'll be doing 2 episodes again next week, although next week's chapter, the next chapter is 20k, is a massive long chapter. So I'm not going to split chapters in 2, but it may be that I only get to 1 next week, because I am still trying to work my way through the latest Wheel of Time book that I'm on. Yeah, so there'll be definitely at least 1 video next week, as always. But if I have time for 2, I will make 2. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I am still really enjoying The Wandering Inn. I would have stopped by now if I wasn't. And really want to see how this volume ends. And I'm looking forward, as I've said a few times, to switching over to the ebook/audiobook for volume 2. I've had a few comments who are saying don't listen to certain sections of The Wandering Inn on ebook. Audiobooks, it's not as it's more confusing as to what's going on. But I just wanted to reassure everyone, I am primarily a physical and ebook reader. So if I've got the ability to sit down with the ebook, then I will do. So don't worry about that. Ebook is the primary reading device. The audiobooks are kind of a backup, like I need to do some chores around the house, or I need to go for a run or something. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a like. If you want to chat to me about anything that happened in this episode, or anything about The Wandering Inn in general, as long as there are no future spoilers, then please do so in the comments down below. And of course, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next week.